Which new cars, trucks, and SUVs have the longest waiting periods, and what can you do about it if you're shopping for a new car? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. For this video, we're going to go through what the waiting periods are like for all the major car brands, and what you can do about it if you're planning on buying a brand new car in the near future. Anyone who's been shopping for a brand new car over the past year will likely know that there is a major industry-wide car shortage caused by a global shortage of computer microchips, which is causing manufacturing restrictions and virtually no cars on dealer lots. This means that if you're planning on buying a new car in the near future, you are more than likely going to need to factory order it from the dealership, with a waiting period anywhere from a few months to several months long, depending on the model that you want to buy. So to find out what the waiting periods are like for every major car brand and what you can do about it as a consumer, make sure to stick around until the end of this video. And if you enjoy and get value out of this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I post 2 videos a week, always straight to the point, valuable car buying advice designed to help you, the consumer. As a car help consultant dealing with both consumers and dealers on a daily basis, I do have a good sense of what the waiting periods are like for almost every popular car. But for this video, I'm also using information from my friends over at YAA to get a better sense of what the waiting periods are like with both the American and Canadian markets. So let's start off with 2 of the most popular car brands, Hyundai and Kia. As far as the car shortage and waiting periods are concerned, Kia is in pretty bad shape. If you were thinking of buying one of their popular SUVs, for example, like say the Sportage or the Sportage as it's known in Canada, the Sorento, or the Telluride 3-row SUV, you could be looking at an average waiting period anywhere from 8 to 12 months long, depending on where you're located. That wait time is going to be especially long if you were thinking of buying one of the hybrid or plug-in hybrid models, which have the longest waiting periods of all. But if you thought waiting 8 to 12 months for an SUV is pretty bad, well, it gets even worse if you were thinking of buying one of their EVs. At the time of this recording, both the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and the Kia EV6 have an average waiting period of 12 to 24 months long, which is pretty ridiculous. If you were thinking of buying one of these brands, your best bet for a shorter waiting period is to go with one of the non-hybrid Hyundai SUVs, like the Hyundai Tucson, the Santa Fe, or the Kona. But in any case, both Hyundai and Kia have been hit pretty hard by the car shortage, so regardless of which model you want to buy, you could be looking at a pretty long wait. And that's also going to be the case with the next car brand, which is Subaru. As with Hyundai and Kia, Subaru has been hit extremely hard by the car shortage, largely thanks to the size of the company, supply chain issues, and the location of their manufacturing. It really doesn't matter which Subaru you plan to buy. Most of their lineup has an average waiting period of 4 to 6 months long, depending on the model and depending on where you're located. Waiting 4 to 6 months long for a Subaru Forester or Outback does sound pretty ridiculous, especially given the fact that Subaru doesn't even make any hybrids or plug-in hybrids. But nevertheless, that's the situation if you plan on buying a Subaru. If you were thinking of buying another Japanese brand though, unfortunately things are not much better for Honda either. Most of Honda's popular models, including the Honda Civic, the Honda Accord, and the Honda CR-V, have an average waiting period of 3 to 5 months depending on your location. And the waiting periods are likely going to be even longer if you are planning on buying a hybrid, like the Honda Accord Hybrid or the Honda CR-V Hybrid. That being said though, things are not so bad for Honda's bigger SUVs, like the Honda Passport and the Honda Pilot, which have an average waiting period of as little as a few weeks depending on your location. As an example of their much better availability, I've even been able to get some of my clients at Car Help some really impressive deals, even thousands of dollars off the MSRP of a brand new Honda Pilot, which just goes to show you that you can still sometimes find a pretty decent deal out there. Unfortunately though, you're not going to find a deal like that out there for the next car brand, which is Toyota. Despite their size and popularity, Toyota has been hit extremely hard by the car shortage, and you're going to be looking at an average waiting period of at least a few months for most of their popular models. This is going to be especially bad if you were thinking of buying one of Toyota's hybrid models, which have the longest waiting periods of all. Most of Toyota's hybrids, including the RAV4 hybrid, the Venza, the Highlander SUV, and the Sienna minivan, all have an average waiting period of around 8 to 12 months long, depending on your location. And if you think waiting 8 to 12 months long for a hybrid is really bad, well, it gets even worse if you were thinking of buying one of Toyota's plug-in hybrid vehicles, including the Prius Prime, but especially the RAV4 Prime. The Toyota RAV4 Prime might be the most difficult SUV to buy of all, with an average waiting period of around 2 years long across the North American market. This is largely due to the fact that the RAV4 Prime is currently only manufactured in Japan, as opposed to the RAV4 Hybrid, which is manufactured in North America, so it has much better availability. No question, hybrids and plug-in hybrids are not easy vehicles to buy right now, so if you want to look at a regular gas vehicle, maybe you need to take a look at the next car brand, which is Mazda. Although Mazda doesn't make any hybrids, because they are still a small car company and a lot of their models are made in Japan, you could still be looking at a long waiting period. Most of Mazda's popular models have an average waiting period of 3 to 5 months long depending on the location, and that even includes their brand new CX-50 SUV, which is manufactured in North America. Unfortunately, things are just not so good for the Asian car brands, so if you're thinking of buying a Korean or Japanese car brand, you're most likely going to have to deal with a very long wait. The one exception to this is Nissan, which does seem to have a shorter waiting period on average when compared to most of the other Asian car brands. Compared to the other Asian car brands, most of Nissan's popular models have an average waiting period of only 1 to 2 months, but again, it's always location dependent, but that's still pretty good from what I've seen. Unfortunately, as bad as that is, you might not fare any better if you were planning on buying a domestic car brand, like say for example Ford. A lot of Ford's popular models, including most of their SUVs and trucks, have an average waiting period of around 3 to 4 months. And this is even worse if you were planning on buying one of their electrified vehicles, like the hybrids and full EVs. Say for example the Mustang Mach-E full electric crossover, which has an average waiting period of at least 8 months long. And if you think 8 months for a Mach-E is bad, it could be even worse if you want to buy a Ford Maverick Hybrid, which has an average waiting period of at least 8 to 12 months. And it's even worse for the Ford F-150 Lightning, the full EV pickup truck, which due to really high demand and low availability, has an average waiting period of at least 12 months long. Luckily, things aren't nearly as bad over at the Stellantis brand if you were thinking of buying a Jeep, Dodge, or Ram pickup truck. Most of these vehicles have an average waiting period of around 2 to 4 months long depending on the model that you want to buy and depending on your location. And because of the generally better availability, you can sometimes even find some rebates and incentives with these models, which is something that hasn't been seen in quite some time. Which means that if you need to get a vehicle relatively quickly and want to get a good deal, going with a Stellantis model might be the way to go. At the end of the day, there are some major takeaways from this video that you want to consider, especially if you were planning on buying a new vehicle in the near future. The main one being is that virtually all brand new vehicles have some kind of a waiting period, whether it be a few weeks long or several months long, so you do need to plan ahead of time if you're thinking of buying a brand new vehicle. For example, if you know that your existing vehicle is only going to last you for another 6 months to a year, then it might be a good idea to order your next brand new vehicle right now, because you could be waiting for a very long time depending on the model that you want to buy. And that's especially true if you were thinking of buying any kind of a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, or a full EV, as many consumers are thinking of doing because of the extremely high gas prices. Unfortunately though, all electrified vehicles, whether it's a hybrid, a plug-in hybrid, or a full EV, is going to have a very long waiting period, regardless of which car brand you go to. So unless you have the ability and patience to wait at least 6 months to a year, it might be best just to scratch off any electrified vehicle off your shopping list. Now you might be thinking, hey, instead of waiting such a long time for a brand new car, why don't you just buy a lightly used car instead? Well, ordinarily that would be a good idea, but because of the major car shortage, there's virtually no lightly used cars on the market. And when you do find one available, it's going to be sold at a very high price, sometimes even higher than just ordering a brand new one. It's not uncommon to find dealers marking up used cars or demo cars to extremely high prices, to the point where they really just don't make any sense to buy. Which is why this is not a great market for those who need to buy a car right away and just don't have the ability to wait. But if you do have the ability to wait and you know that you want to buy a really popular model with a really long waiting period, my recommendation is to do some research on the dealers in your area. Generally speaking, large volume dealerships receive a lot more allocations for cars because they sell a lot more vehicles when compared to a lot of these smaller dealerships. So if you buy from a large volume dealer, you are more likely to get a car in a shorter period of time. And the way to tell what your wait time is like is by simply asking the dealership, how many cars do you receive per month? And how many cars do you currently have on order from existing customers? And based on that information, how long can I realistically expect to wait? By asking these simple questions, you might save yourself a lot of time and hassle with the dealership. But in any case, be prepared to wait because in most cases, there's just no way around it. So let me know what you thought of this video, and if you have any suggestions for any future car videos, just leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can also take a look at some of my other car videos by clicking these links over here. Make sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. And if you need additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, make sure to check out carhelpcan.com. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.